we know some things. We know that media narratives shape social perspective. We know about some of the media tricks. In academia, there are media theories such as gatekeeper theory, agenda setting theory. Let me bring your attention to one of those theoretical frameworks in play. The terrorist, I'm gonna call him exactly what he is, the terrorist who has been treated like a child, really. Fox News and CNN did a terrible job covering the DC bomb threat, as we all have been talking about. Fox reported on Thursday, get this, that there was no apparent motive for Floyd Ray Roseberry, no motive whatsoever, they didn't know it. The man who threatened to detonate several bombs in the Washington, DC area, okay? However, Roseberry live streamed the event mentioning that he was willing to, and I quote, die for the cause. He told you what his motive was on his own media apparatus, but it was reported that they could not figure out what his motive was. He also said part of his motive was that he wanted Joe Biden, the president of the United States, to resign. Another indication of motive. It was definitely political, right? Let's just go to these videos. Here's Fox News first.
A man claiming to have a bomb in his truck near the US Capitol surrendered after an hours-long standoff. Law enforcement did not find a bomb in the vehicle, but say they collected possible bomb-making materials. So far, no word on a possible motive.
Really? No word on a possible motive? Well, how about this?
If you blow my truck up, man, hey, it's on you, Joe. I'm ready to die for the cause. And brother, if you said if you could do anything to save one life, you said you'd do it. Well, you got a chance. I want to go home Sunday. I want to go home and see my wife. We're living in a free country, Joe. Choice yours. If you want to shoot me and take the chance of blowing up 2.5 city blocks, because that toolbox is full. On him nitrate, it's full.
That's a terrorist, ladies and gentlemen. A terrorist is an individual that engages in extremism, criminality, violence, intimidation in order to seek and obtain a political goal. Very clearly, that person is a terrorist. Now remember, the media narrative has already said after this, hey, we don't know, we could not figure out what his motive was. We don't know. There's more.
It's time for us to take a stand, fellas. We're the last generation. We're the last generation that's going to have the balls to stand up for what's wrong with this government. And you know, I done some reading. Once this kid Biden's out of office and the Democrats are all sitting down there in the jailhouse, our president's going to be Donald Trump. And there is no limit on his pardons. He can have a pardon of 10 billion people. And there ain't a law saying he can't. I think I'm going to accept one of them pardons when the time comes.
Now listen, when a white supremacist says, I've been doing some reading, everybody's in trouble, okay? Now, remember, this individual, this terrorist, is getting the benefit of the doubt, even by CNN. They don't get away scot-free on this. Let's go to CNN. This is what they said.
The chief, shortly after he made that statement, also said that his understanding was that the suspect had been dealing with a lot of personal trauma, perhaps deaths in his family, deaths from people who were close with him. That there were personal, I guess I would say personal burdens weighing on him in this moment, as you might expect from someone who is desperate enough to drive up onto the sidewalk outside of the Library of Congress and say that they have an explosive device.
Shame on you. First of all, I don't give a damn about the thoughts and the feelings of this terrorist. And to be quite honest with you, if this person would have been black or if their last names would have been Muhammad, I promise you, you would not have given a damn about their thoughts and their feelings and what they're going through in life. The bottom line is everybody's going through something. We all have pressures because it's called life. The benefit of the narrative, ladies and gentlemen, has been given to this criminal. Why? Because of his white skin. That is why. This is white privilege at work. It's right in front of you. It's clearly evident. Emily G posted, let's go to this Twitter post, or this was a Facebook like post. Okay, so listen. These are the Facebook likes from the alleged perpetrator of the bomb threat in DC, okay? You see it, it's there, it's clear. We got some more, right? Gives you an idea of his background. Let me go to, because I thought this was a great highlight. Steve Marmol tweeted something quite interesting. And Steve says, do those personal issues involve him being white? Did they buy him Burger King? ? Christopher Reeves says, who the hell is not dealing with personal issues? Just most of us don't, bomb places. We just eat too much fast food or sheet cake. If everyone with personal issues bomb places, #MAGA terrorist, okay? Let's talk about it, let's open it up. Cenk, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so a terrorist is someone who does violence for political purpose. And so there is absolutely no question that that's exactly what he is here. And so the fact that it didn't work doesn't make it any better at all. Yes, people who are terrorists are usually not the brightest bulbs, no matter where they come from. And a good thing is, a lot of times their plans don't work. Remember Richard Reed, the shoe bomber? That didn't go off either. The underwear bomber, that didn't go off either. So thank God. But what are we doing? When it was a Muslim man from Jamaica, we've been taking our shoes off for 20 years now, okay?
That's right.
And you got a white man who says, I got a truck full of bombs and I'm looking to blow up 2 city blocks. We're like, oh, he had a tough day. Come on, he had a tough day. And so when Rashad calls it white privilege, I do this every time, and I really, if you're white, please, I'm begging you to think about if the shoe was on the other foot, right? So it's not that we're saying, no, that guy's perfectly mentally healthy. Of course not, right? But what if when someone else does it, can you have the same empathy or lack of empathy? Just the same standard either way. Is that possible at all? So have you ever seen a news person say, when it's a Muslim fundamentalist, well, they were having some personal issues, and Mohammed Atta, I mean, I don't know, he might have been running up a credit card debt, he's having trouble with his wife. No, they say, understandably, if the guy did 9/11, they say he's a terrorist, he's terrible, he killed all these people, etc. Whenever it's Dylan Roof and killed 9 people in a black church, all of a sudden, wow, he had a tough day, let's go get him some Burger King. This guy, oh, it's a personal issue. And then Fox News with the hilarious, the motive is not clear. And by the way, that works, that propaganda works. I saw all day today on social media, right-wingers writing in, oh, he never mentioned Trump. You saw the video, he said, not only did he mention Trump, not only did he say Biden and the Democrats should be in jail, he said it's okay because Trump's gonna pardon me. And to be fair, Trump has pardoned people who did things on his behalf, terrible things on his behalf. So that's the one thing that he wasn't crazy about. But was it political in nature and right wing? Of course, he said it himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's crystal clear. I mean, to me, listening to him, it just reminded me of June 6 Run Amok, or January 6 Run Amok, January 6 remix. And you're absolutely, I was thinking, listening to you and to the good doctor, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Eric Gardner, Sandra Bland, and none of them. And even, and I bring up Breonna Taylor because she was in her own home. And when people started to tell the story about why they, seized her house at that time of the day, they started trying to connect her to bad things. Here, this guy, in his own words, is talking about blowing up 2.5 blocks, double dog daring law enforcement. They talk to him for an hour. Most black people and brown people will never get that kind of benefit of the doubt. And to the point, Dr. Richey, of the text messages that or the tweets you were reading, yeah, life happens to everybody, but not everybody is walking around saying, oh, I think I'm gonna blow up 2.5 blocks today.
Yeah, and look, CNN was quoting the sheriff, right, in the beginning. And so, first of all, that's a problem with the sheriff because he sees that guy and goes, there but for the grace of God go I. But when he sees someone Muslim, he does not think there but for the grace of God go I. When he sees a black person, he does not necessarily think that. So when you have empathy for someone, you treat them differently than if you don't have empathy for them. And so look, in a sense, they're treating him like a human being. They say, well, okay, it's complicated, he did a terrible thing, but obviously he's got some mental health issues. But when it comes to the rest of us,
that's right,
they don't treat us as humans. We're a dark, evil, non-human entity that is a threat to everyone else. And that's the part that is so damning. And then CNN reporter in that case followed up by saying, oh yeah, it's understandable, etc. And to Rashad's point, they say, oh, this terrorist is having a bad day. But look, it's not like the KKK were all mentally well. It's not like they were well-adjusted people who were living happy lives and decided, hey, you know what, every once in a while we should do a lynching. They were also had deep psychological problems. You don't do cross burnings and lynchings because you're doing well in your life, right? But that doesn't mean you go, well, I mean, golly gee, maybe the guy was having trouble with his life. No, the guy's doing a goddamn lynching. I'm not interested in his life. That's certainly not relevant when we're talking about the crime that he is committing. And that level of terrorism has been with us a long time in America.
Yeah.
I want to make a quick point before we go to break, and that is this. I want to remind everyone that a dead man who was murdered by the police, who should be alive, George Floyd, received the stigma of being a criminal, of being the villain, even though he was murdered. And he was clearly murdered. Even Breonna Taylor, there was a spin to suggest that it was actually her fault.
That's right.
That this happened. And we see this time and time again. So what I'm doing, I'm comparing the social narratives here to make it clear. A dead black person is still noted as a criminal when it is clear they were murdered. However, an alive white man who tells you he's a criminal is considered human in their narrative.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm only gonna add one thing because I've never let it go. I read a story about how Trayvon Martin had once gotten detention. They murdered a young kid. They murdered a young kid who was totally defenseless, had done absolutely nothing wrong. And what did the press talk about? They talked about his detention, right?
Or Tamir Rice on the playground in my home city, 12-year-old playing on the playground with a play gun. And the officer involved said he thought he was 20 years old. I want people to understand that black children are often, by white people, misrepresented their age because black children don't get a chance to just be children and play. They all of a sudden have to be adults and it's exaggerated. So we're dealing with implicit and explicit biases here. And we're also dealing with something that's bigger than this man. It is really about the heart and the soul of this country that we're going to have to deal with and deconstruct our construction. Because Cenk, you make a very good point. To show this man empathy, but then to turn around and if you're black or you brown, you not get that same kind of empathy. That is wherein lies the problem, especially when you got this man on recording saying exactly what he means to do. He was very clear about what he was doing and why he wants to do it. So as a nation, we have to deconstruct our construction when it comes to race and particularly anti-blackness.
Well said.
100%.